Hi art students! Today we're going to create this blazing banyan tree. If you think about the image that you just saw, we're going to draw kind of more an abstract version of it. This type of art is called fauvism. It's an abstract art that is very colorful. So we are not going to draw the tree as you saw in the image. We're going to draw it more abstractly. So the first thing I want you to do is to mark the center of your paper. Okay, and then we're going to do you see how my horizon line or my island right here is about a quarter. So this is the half. So I want you to do another mark in between the bottom and the middle to make it at the quarter. Okay, I want you to do both of those on each side. Middle over here, and then in between the two. Okay, so that's at the quarter. I want you to go all the way across the paper. Are islands straight? Nope. Is water straight? Also no. So I want you to do like a pinky finger in between, like just a small gap in between both of these lines. So we're doing two parallel lines with a small gap in between. So this is going to be our island that the tree is growing out of. Okay. And after those two lines, now we're going to start our tree. So the main trunk is very wide, and then these really thick branches come off of the main trunk. And these aerial roots come down from the branches. Once they hit the ground, they root into the ground and become prop roots. And that's why these trees can get so wide, as big as the school, because of all this support on these really big branches. So I want you to draw 5 branches, starting with the main trunk. So I want you to draw, you can kind of see mine here. So this would be my other side of the trunk. Okay, so 2 lines here, and then I've made a big root over here, so I'm going to make another one over here. Okay, and these are my really big main roots. I got to do both sides of my branches. Okay, and these are really thick. These lines can be light or dark because we're going to paint over all of them. And don't worry about erasing. So I'm going to do 5 branches, main branches. So I've got 1, 2, there's 3 right here. So I'm going to do another one going off this side of the paper all the way off. I'm going to make it really thick also. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've started this one here, so I'm just going to extend it up this way to make 5, and I'm going to connect that too. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big branches. Now I want you to label each of your branches with a B. So when you are drawing with your pastel, you know which one is sky, which one is a branch. Next, I want you to break these big sections into compartments so you can add branches in between and also have smaller spaces to create your colors. So this is a pretty big section right here, so I'm going to break this section into 2 parts. So I'm going to run a branch, a thinner branch. So these are just newer growth branches, so they'll be a lot thinner. So I'll do one there and one like this. This section is smaller here, so I'm just going to do one branch down like that to break that into 2 sections. Okay. Now, when I talked about aerial roots, I'm going to draw those next. Aerial roots can just come straight down. Most of them do. You can draw them like that. You want 2 sides to that. I'm going to add a little tiny B on those. Those are a little more obvious, but I'm still going to mark them so I don't have to worry about it. Or like I did over here, you can bifurcate them down there and just make them like an upside down V, like that. However you want to do that. When you're doing your sunset, make sure you do in between these also. All right, now that I'm done drawing my tree, I'm going to start with the water down at the bottom. These are 3 different techniques of oil pastels that I'm going to show you. So you're going to need 3 different blues and a nub of pink. So just a small piece of pink. That's what you're going to need for the first step. So the first step to create this kind of moving effect here, we are going to take the dark blue oil pastel, and I'm just going to go over it lightly. See how you can see a lot of white in between there? That's what we want for this first step. Make sure you don't get on your island right there, but you want to go all the way to the edge. Okay, we're just lightly doing that. After you've lightly done, you'll obviously do the whole paper. I want you to take that same color, and you see these little bands of dark. I want you to press hard and slow, like back and forth, but go down slowly. So it's really covering, you can't see any white. And I'm going to kind of zigzag back and forth to create this pattern. So I'm just zigzagging back and forth, going like I'm going back and forth frequently, but I'm moving down the paper slowly so I can get really good coverage. So I'm going this way and that way, because when you look at water, like if your reflection's in the water, it's not a mirror. It's not like looking in a mirror, right? I'm going to do that over here. You can make them a little straighter. You can make them wider, however you want it to look. Next, I'm going to take my really light blue. So I got the dark blue is done. Now I'm going to take the light blue and I'm going to fill in the gaps. So you do this across your paper. Obviously, you're doing the whole artwork. I've already done this over here, just so you can see it. And I'm going to fill in with this light blue. I'm overlapping the blues to blur that line. And we're going to do that up in the top of the tree too. So I'm just going to take this light blue, and I'm taking time to press harder and moving back and forth to get really good coverage. You can rotate your oil pastel if you need a sharper point. Just keeping that zigzag. Now I'm going to use my medium blue, and I'm going to fill in the rest of the gap. So it'll give me 3 different tones of water, because water is not one color. It's got lots of different colors in it. Some in the ocean you'll see turquoises and other colors also. And do this over here. Obviously you go all the way to the end. Okay. I have pretty good coverage. Make sure you get all the way into your paper. The final step in creating this blurred effect, you can still see the lines on this. I'm going to take this pink nub. So you'll want to have a pink oil pastel for doing the rest of it. But you need a nub, like a little piece, so you can sideways blur this even more. So I'm going to take this oil pastel and I'm going to go across this whole thing with it on its side, so it's really wide. Okay, and it's good for doing like big areas. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to blur this. That's why I wish I had a little bit better coverage here, because I can still see that white. So I'm going to go back and cover this a little bit better, because I don't like all the gaps that I'm seeing. Okay, now I'm going to take my pink and I'm going to just blur it a little bit more. I'm not pressing extremely hard. I'm just kind of lightly pressing, just to give this, just to blur the lines a little bit and add a little bit of this pink, just a little bit, not so it's overpowering, but just so it just gives it some more movement and reflection almost. Okay, so I really like how that looks. If you don't like these little white spots, go back in with your whatever colors there and just make sure you get it a little thicker, and so you don't see the white anymore. And then you can take your pink again and just go over it again if you want it to be darker. I think that looks better. If you like the little white peeking through, that is great too. Okay, another thing that we're going to do in the water is the reflection of the trees. As you can see here, I had a gap in this side of the trunk to show you what it looked like. There's going to be a shadow down in the water. And as you can see, these also are not straight. So I'm going to start here at the trunk, and I'm going to kind of back and forth, and I'm going to taper down so it's really big when it's really close and gets smaller as it gets farther away. I'm going to do that to my prop roots also. This one is that Y shape, so I'm going to carry that a little bit so it looks like this, like a mirror image. Okay. All right, so this tape takes a little while because you want to get really good coverage. So pause the video here if you need some time and get that step complete. Okay. Once you are all done with that step, or everybody's pretty close, the next step is to do this sunset is the next thing. I want you to turn your paper upside down so you don't drag your hand through your beautiful water. And we're going to start doing it this way. Now, these is 3 different techniques that we're going to do. This is a really, really light layer with baby oil to blend. So I'm going to use these same colors I did over here so you can see this is the after and the before. I'm taking a yellow oil pastel and I'm really, really lightly going over this like I did on that initial blue on the water. I'm trying not to get on my prop roots. I'm trying not to get into my island. So just lightly doing a little bit of yellow, not very much. If you have color on your yellow, use your paper towel to wipe off the black or blue that got on your color so it doesn't get into your sunset. I've done that before and the black kind of stands out. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of orange to match that, and then I'm going to do some pink. So this is going to be a lot more muted because it's far in the background. Okay, so the lighter the layer you do, the lighter when you blend it out. Okay, now for this step you'll need a drip of baby oil gel. You don't need much, just on a little tiny paper. You're going to take your Q-tip and you're going to get a small amount on your Q-tip. You don't want to use the tip of your Q-tip because if you start scrubbing with the top, with it straight up and down, that little ball of cotton will just rip off. So you want to use it on the side. This is my paper. It's almost flat and I'm just going back and forth with the side of the Q-tip, not the tip of it. So I'm going to get a little bit of baby oil on it. Not much, you don't need much. And I'm going to start with the yellow and I'm just going to blend it up. If I start to see if it's not blending and blurring, then I need a little bit more baby oil. So you'll just keep adding. You see how that's just pulling that slight bit of color back and forth. Okay, and I'm starting to get my orange and I can see these lines in my orange. So I need a little more baby oil. So I'm going to add some more and I'm going to keep blending. I can pull that orange down into the yellow to blur that image. Because sunsets are more ombre, they don't have real definitive lines, it's just the color in the light from the sky. Maybe a little more baby oil, and I'm going to blend and blend until I like it. If you need more color, you can always add more color. Try not to get the baby oil on the tree, but it is okay if you get a little bit on there, you can paint right over it. I want to add a little more pink. I don't really see, oops, and I got blue all over it. That's a bummer. Oh, I'm gonna have some blue in my sky. That'd be okay. I'm gonna add a little more pink because I want a little bit more. The orange is a little more bright. Okay, so I'm gonna use the cleaner side of my Q-tip here, and I'm just gonna blend that in. And I kind of like the blue in there. That was okay. But if you do have color on your oil pastel, make sure to wipe that off with your paper towel so it doesn't get in your art like mine just did. But I kind of like it, so happy accidents are good too. And just keep going down. Make sure you use a clean side of your Q-tip on your yellow. So either flip it over to the other side or get a new Q-tip. when you're going down to the yellow again, so you don't drag a lot of color in there, because when you're close to the water will be where the sun is the brightest and it's the lightest, right? Okay, so when you're done doing all of your sections, so it'll be 1, 2, all the way across. It shouldn't take too long because you're doing a really light layer of oil pastel and then you're just blending this a little bit. So this shouldn't take too long for this step, okay? And when you're done with that step, now we're gonna move on to our flaming tree. And in this step, we are using the color next to it to blend. So if you like this flaming look where it's really like a blazing on fire banyan tree, this is how I'm going to show you how to do that. You can use analogous colors where they are, right next to each other, like the red and the orange and the other all right in a row. You can do complementary colors like purple and yellow that are quite opposite. Up here is your own decision. Whatever pattern or color you want, it's great. You can do it rainbow if you want. So take each section, make sure you get all the way to the edge, and follow along your tree line. And I'm going to do maybe this little triangle right here. Okay, and I want to color this in really well. Just like you did with the water, I want it to be, pressure and slowly back and forth, so you're really covering it and filling in all those white gaps. Okay. And now I'm going to take my orange. And when I take my orange here, I'm going to come down to about here. To blur that line and kind of make it jagged, I'm going to color it in here. You see how I have some black in there? If you don't want that, make sure you wipe it before. But you see how I've got the two distinct colors. Now I'm going to take this orange and I'm going to jaggedly blur it into here. And that makes the transition of the color a little bit more blurred, but also kind of jagged, so it looks more like flame. And I can add some red. I can blend it with my red also. So I'm going to take my little red because I like it really a jagged look like over there. So I'm going to take my red and my orange and I'm going to blend it to give it that jagged look. You can do it however you want. You can use your finger if you want it a little softer. You can blend it with your finger also. And now I'm going to use, I didn't finish coloring that in. Now I'm going to use a opposite color. I'm going to use purple just to see, so you can see the contrast between the two. So the purple and orange there's a lot of contrast. So when I color this in, I want to make sure I get really good coverage on it. Okay, and now I'm going to just take that purple and blur it. You can just kind of tap it in, or you can zigzag it in, whatever you like, you like. I'm going to add a little more orange into it, just blur that purple a little bit. If you feel like, oh, wow, I don't like that, you can take your fingernail or something like the side of a paper towel and kind of pull this off. It's just really thick like a crayon, and then start over. Or you can blend it with your finger and then use your paper towel to wipe your hand off. So this step takes a long time. There's a lot of compartments you're going to do. So make sure you get all your compartments filled all the way to the edges of the paper. Okay. When you are done with all of your sections, the last step is to paint in your tree. Now you can pause the video here, or you can show it all the way through so everybody has the next step in the process, and then they can just, because everybody will be on a different spot from here on out. So this is Jazz Gloss. This is a tempera paint that dries shiny. It stains, and so you need to make sure that you don't get on your clothes or on your workstation.